जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरदारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीर वनचारी। यमुना तीर वनचारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा कालाचंजी राधा कालाचंजी राधे। जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे। जय जय जगन्नाथ जगन्नाथ बलदेव जय जय सुभद्रा। जय गौरनीताय 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 जय गौरनीताय। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय श्री राधा कृष्ण जी भगवान की जय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 18, Text 2. As you can see, the chapter is entitled King Yayati Regains His Youth. We'll recite the verse first. Rajyam naichadyati pitra Dattam tatpari namaved Yatra pravishta purusha Atmanam nava buddhyate. Rajyam naichadyati pitran tatam pad parinamavet yacha pravishtra purusha atmanam navabudhaye. Tam tat parinamavet yatra pavishta purusha atmanam navabuddhaye. Ajannaishadhyati pitra tattam tat parinamavrit yatra pravishta purusha atmanam navabhutaye. Rajyam naichadyati pitra dattam tat parinamavrit yatra pravishta purusha atmanam navabudhyaye. Translation. When one enters the post of king or head of the government, one cannot understand the meaning of self-realization. Knowing this, Yati, the eldest son of Nahusa, did not accept the power to rule, although it was offered by his father. Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. We'll read from the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Self-realization is the prime objective of human civilization, and it is regarded seriously by those who are situated in the mode of goodness and have developed the Brahmanical qualities. Kshatriyas are generally endowed with material qualities conducive to gaining material wealth and enjoying sense gratification. But those who are spiritually advanced are not interested in material opulence. Indeed, they accept only the bare necessities for a life of spiritual advancement in self-realization. It is specifically mentioned here that if one enters political life, especially in the modern day, one loses the chance for human perfection. Nonetheless, one can attain the highest perfection if one hears Srimad Bhagavatam. This hearing is described as Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Maharaj Parikshit is involved in politics, but because at the end of his life he heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami, he attained perfection very easily. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore suggested Sthane sthita shruti gatam tanuvan manobhir ya prayaso jito jitopi asitais trilokyam. Regardless of whether one is in the mode of passion, ignorance or goodness, if one regularly hears Srimad Bhagavatam, from the self-realized soul, one is freed from the bondage of material involvement. Hare Krishna. So, as always, Srila Prabhupada gives us the best understanding of every shloka, so we can digest the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam for our own benefit. This particular canto is entitled Liberation, and through the previous chapters there are descriptions of the various dynasties of the sons of Manu, the lineage, the ancestry. After having described the lineage up to the appearance of Lord Ramachandra, who was born in the Surya Vamsha, Shukdev Goswami starts to explain the lineage of Lord Krishna or the Chandra Vamsha. And as part of the Chandra Vamsha, this these stories come. One of the stories is of King Yayati and his father Nahusa. So this particular passage explains how King Yati, he didn't become a king. The Yati refused the kingdom that was offered to him by Nahusa. So there is a bit of a story about King Nahusa which comes in the Mahabharata. I'll quickly explain that so we get the context of this passage. So, like I explained, the Bhagavatam gives the lineage, the ancestry, and about the appearance of Lord Krishna. It is explained, of course, we all know he was born in the Yadu dynasty. So, who was Yadu? So, from Lord Brahma was Atri, one of his putras, one of his sons, Manas putras, of course. From Atri came Soma, the sun, the moon god. From Soma came Buddha. From Buddha came Pururava. There is a story of Pururava being enchanted by Urvashi that comes in the previous chapter. From Pururava came Ayu, and from Ayu came Yayati. And Yayati had 5 sons, one of them was Yadu. And then the 15th generation from King Yadu was Lord Krishna. Of course, before that there was Surasena, before Vasudev, Surasena, and Devi Mida, and Ruchika, so on and so forth. There's a mention of all the lineage. So the story of Nahusa is explained in the Mahabharata, and why Yati refused the kingdom is there. Of course, the principle that Yati followed was Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam raksheshati vishwasa gopatritve varnam tatha atmanikshepa karpanyo tadvida sharanagati. Sanatan Goswami explains in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 6 symptoms of surrender. One of them is pratikulyasya varjanam. So refuse or do not accept anything that is not conducive to your spiritual progress. So under that principle, Yati did not accept the kingdom. The reason is because he saw his father go through a certain situation, and that is explained in the Mahabharata, where King Nahusa. So the story goes as follows. Like as I said, he was born to Ayu, who was the son of Pururava, and by some providence, when he was very young, he got kidnapped by a demon. His name was Hunda. And that demon, obviously by association of demoniac qualities, he developed certain demoniac qualities. But somehow, I don't know the exact story, I tried to research it, but I didn't get that story. But somehow he escaped, and he ended up being in the ashram of Valmiki Muni. Not Valmiki, sorry, Vashishta Muni. And Vashishta, of course, obviously association of saintly persons gives us the qualities that we need eventually. So he became a very righteous person, and Vashishta helped him to perform yagyas, the Ashwamedh yagyas. He performed 99 of those. And obviously when you perform 100 Ashwamedh yagyas, you are eligible to the post of Indra. That is the spiritual injunction. So it so happened that Indra, the actual position Indra, had to go into hiding when he killed Vritasura. He had to do some pious atonements. And at that time, the demigods, all the gods chose Nahusa to be the temporary Indra. And he was brought to the position of Indra. And unfortunately, because that position is a very, very, it has like in the position of Indra, you have access to almost everything, and you're almost the supreme controller within the domain of a particular universe. And he became enamored by that. He also became enamored by the beauty of Indra's wife Sachi. So that, despite the proper groundings, with that position that he achieved, his mind was totally bewildered, is the right word. He forgot his principles, and he wanted to marry Sachi. So she said, I cannot marry, I already have King Indra, the real Indra, as my husband. But if you want, she put a very difficult task in front. She said that you should you should come and get me in a palanquin which is held by the Sapta Rishis, the 7 Rishis, like Atri, Agatsya, Pulatsya, Bhrigu. They change in the various Manus, but we know them like Jamadagni, Gautama Rishi, Kashyapa Rishi, Vashishta, Vishwamitra. So these are all the Rishis, and what we call as Gotra, if you do any religious or ritualistic ceremonies, they ask for Gotra. So Gotra is one of the 7. It is expected that each person is a descendant of either of these 7 Rishis. So you can have a Kashyapa Gotra, you can have a Vashishta Gotra, you can have a Valmiki, or not Valmiki, Vishwamitra Gotra, like that. So he said, I will do it. And he forced the Sapta Rishis to actually carry him in a palanquin. That was his this crazy lust, for that. And it is said that Agatsya was relatively shorter of the other Sapta Rishis. And his steps were smaller as compared to the other Rishis. And because of that, the palanquin was going like this, and very slow. And Nahusa was so desperate to reach for his marriage that he started chastising them, that you need to go faster. And he was using the word sarpa, go fast, move ahead faster. And Agatsya became very angry. Muni became angry. And he said, you are so lusty and you are so disrespectful and you are always using the word sarpa. So I curse you to become a sarpa. So he becomes a python. He becomes a serpent. He falls down to the material existence. Of course, heavenly planets is also material existence, but human existence is very limited material opulence. So he falls to that, and eventually in the Mahabharata, the story comes where he tries to devour Bhima when they are in the forest. And that's where he comes in contact with the Pandavas. And there is a conversation between Yudhishthir Maharaj and Nahusa in the form of a python. And then he gets eventually liberated. So the story explains how this is the reason why Yati did not accept the kingdom, because he felt that I don't want to get enamored by these position and all. Of course, it doesn't mean that one should not accept a position if it is. The other principle comes into play, the anukulyasya. If it is the instruction of the guru or the need of the beneficiary of the community or the society, that becomes it is anukulyasya sankalpa. You have to accept it with that mood. So, but King Yati did not accept it because he was afraid that he may not be able to handle this situation, having seen what happened to his father. So that is why he refused. And Prabhupada explains that it takes mode of goodness and Brahminical qualities to understand what is conducive to your spiritual realization and what to refuse. That is what Prabhupada explains in the purport. Irrespective of that, there is a panacea. Right? Irrespective of whatever situation we are in, whichever mode is predominant, whether it is a mode of goodness, passion or ignorance on us. Of course, in Kali Yuga, the predominant modes are passion and ignorance. It is only by the mercy of Guru and the process of bhakti, the Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, Padasevanam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam, Pujanam. All these processes protect, at least in the stage of sadhana bhakti, when the real fruit of this process is not yet fructified in the form of bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. At least in the stage of sadhana bhakti, it protects us from falling to the influence of mode of passion and ignorance. More so in the passion in the ignorance. To some extent, we get swayed by the mode of passion. But to a great extent, we are saved from the mode of ignorance. Anyways, what I wanted to predominantly share for today's discussion was this process, is the fundamentals of the process of Shravanam or hearing. Like here Prabhupada explains that hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, is the cure, irrespective of whether you are in a position, you are not in a position, whatever the modes we are operating in. Like the gopis, when they sing the Gopi Gita, they sing, right? Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibirivitam kalmashapaham shravana mangalam srimadatam bhuvi grindanti ye de bhurida jana. They explain that your pastimes are like the shower on the people who are like burning tapta jivanam. So there are, I don't want to go into the details of that shloka, but suffice to understand that the reason primarily the Lord performs these pastimes is for us to hear, so that we get purified inside out, not just externally. There is a shloka in the Bhagavatam, I think 2.3.20, which I don't remember the exact shloka, but it explains that having achieved a human life, if we cannot hear the glories of the Lord, then our ears are like the holes in which snakes are only, our ears are only fit as holes where snakes can reside. And our tongue is only fit to be like the tongue of a frog, which only croaks. And Prabhupada would always give the example that if you just speak, it's like a frog which is croaking, just inviting the snake, the time of snake to come in and engulf you. So Shravanam is very, very fundamental for nurturing the seed of bhakti that we all have received by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada as our Shiksha Guru and our Diksha Gurus. But it is our responsibility to grow it. Having received it, it is all the more important to understand that fortune and act towards fructifying it to the level of Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. So I thought I'll share a few things which I've heard through various classes or heard or read in different. This is a compilation of things. So first of all, what I'm going to share is what are the different types of hearing, or what are the various scenarios in the process of hearing based on the Shrota and the Vakta. What are the qualifications of a speaker? What are the qualifications of a listener? And based on those, what are the 4 scenarios that develop, so that we understand how this process of hearing actually gives the impact that we all keep hearing about Bhagavatam. Sometimes it doesn't create that effect, and there is a mismatch between what we read and what we actually experience. So these fundamentals of hearing can help us align with the Shruti Phala, as they say, the benefits of hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So first of all, we should understand that hearing is the first sense that develops when we receive a human body. When we are still in the womb of the mother, we can still hear. Even if we cannot see, maybe we can sense things, but the scriptures explain that the first sense that develops, with which we can gain the knowledge of the external environment around us, is hearing. And the last to go is also hearing. That is why when somebody is like about to leave his body, even though he is externally unconscious or semi-conscious, the devotees always chant. They keep chanting the holy name, so that at least the hearing is there. And I've seen many situations, like especially when some devotees were about to leave their body, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, wherever he is, he would make a call and chant the holy name in the ears of the person leaving the body. So yes, that's why hearing is the first sense that we receive and the last to go. So that's why it's the most effective and important sense. Our bhakti starts with hearing, right? We heard it. We must have seen some devotees, we must have seen something, but essentially unless we heard, that's why Shravanam, the first process. Unless we hear, to the extent our hearing is effective, to that extent all the other process of bhakti becomes strengthened. That is the foundational aspect. So then there are 4 types of hearing. First hearing is called as inattentive hearing, or just like they say, hearing, not listening. Are you listening? No. like that. So it just like words falling on our ears and we are not even registering it. That's called as inattentive hearing. It happens like many a times in here it's not there, but in India they have there's a different system of cooling. It's called the air conditioning unit. So it's in the room. So when it's on, you become used to that sound. We don't even register it. Only when it stops, you suddenly hear, oh, it was running. So that's like inattentive hearing. We don't even we are not even cognizant of it. So that is inattentive hearing. It's just as they say, in Hindi there's a saying, "Ek kaan se suna, dusre kaan se nikal diya." So you hear from one it enters and goes out from the other. Nothing registers. So that is inattentive hearing. The second is selective hearing or selective listening, meaning we listen to the message, filtering it through the prejudice we have in our mind. The prejudice about the speaker, prejudice about the subject, prejudice about what we feel we already know about the subject. So that becomes selective hearing, that I want to only hear this much portion of it because I think the other portion is not right. Something like that. So that is selective hearing. The third is attentive hearing, but it is still different from the fourth stage, which is called as emphatic or receptive hearing. So attentive hearing is you're attentive, but it reaches only your ears and to some extent your mind is involved. But receptive hearing, which is the best form of hearing, is when we hear with the open heart. There is this concept of chintan. Means whatever you hear, we should, as sadhakas, we should try to. It's like regurgitating. Like when the cow she eats, it regurgitates within her body, then it becomes eventually milk, which is so auspicious for the humans. So like that, when whatever we hear, we should there should be chintan on it. There should be some level of introspection within our hearts. That is when the hearing becomes effective. Otherwise, it's like we keep hearing, and it just doesn't register. So that chintan is important. Whatever, it's not the quantity of the hearing, it's the quality of the hearing that really brings the difference in our spiritual life. Even if we hear 20 minutes, whatever we heard, we should try to think, how can I apply this in my life? Am I following this? Am I doing it? And it shouldn't be used to judge others. That is also another situation where the false ego tends to utilize it to be able to judge others. Like, what is the injunction? That one should be strict to oneself and lenient to others. But sometimes we do the exact opposite. We're very lenient to ourselves but strict to others, and we misuse this information to judge others. So anyway, selective attentive hearing, and then finally receptive or emphatic hearing. So that is what the hearing should be. The other aspect of the process of Shravanam, as I said, is the Shrota and the Vakta. So there are qualifications of the speaker and the qualifications of the listener. And based on that, there are 4 scenarios, meaning the speaker may be qualified, the listener may not be qualified. So what happens then? The speaker is not qualified, listener is qualified. What happens then? Both speaker and listener are not qualified. What happens then? And both speaker and listener are very qualified. What happens then? So that's something we'll discuss. So first of all, the qualities of a Shrota, as given in the Bhagavatam, is first, a Vakta, the speaker. He should come from a bona fide disciplic succession and be true to whatever he has heard. That is one. Second is, he should be practicing, he or she, please pardon my thoughts here, it's just he or she should practice what he or she preaches. It shouldn't be that only for the sake of sharing. It should be first you practice and then you preach. And the third is, he or she should speak from their heart. If you speak just from your mouth, it just reaches the ears. If you speak from your mind, mindfully, it reaches the mind. If you speak from your heart, it reaches the heart. So that is the qualification of the speaker, that he or she should be able to speak realized knowledge in that sense, or at least practiced knowledge, jnana, vigyan and sakshatkar. At least we should be at the level of vigyan, where you are applying that knowledge, not just knowledge. It is otherwise just information. It doesn't really help. So that is the qualification of the speaker. The qualification of the listener is he should be inquisitive and humble. Tadviddhi pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya. So it should be with humility. As a listener, like I said, if it is selective hearing, it means that I already know this. The process of learning stops at a point where we think that I know. To the extent a person feels that I know it, that's where the learning stops. When we know that there is so much that I don't know, that's when the learning continues. So that is the qualification of the listeners. Now, based on that, like I said, there are so many stories and examples of when the speaker is, Vakta is potent, but the listener. So we'll take the case of the listener is potent, but the speaker is not potent. So there's a story of a person by the name Krishna Chandra Rai. He was from Bengal, and he was from a Kayastha Brahmin family from Bengal, and he was very eager throughout his life. He was very pious. When he was 40 years of age, he was walking through the village, and he heard two ladies. In India, sometimes, especially in previous times, this was in the 17th century. There was like taps, common taps with which the ladies will go and fill water. So two ladies were fighting over the chance to fill water in the bucket. And one lady said to the other in Bengali, "Tada tadi koren bel jaben." She said, "Be fast, time is moving." And right at that time, Krishna Chandra Rai was going. And he heard this statement, "Tada tadi koren bel jaben." And he was very eager. He was always contemplating whether I should surrender myself to the Lord. And he heard this statement, "Tada tadi koren bel jaben." And immediately at that point, he left Bengal and he went to Vrindavan. There is a temple by the name Lala Babu Mandir that was created by him in Vrindavan. And he lived only 6 years in Vrindavan. After that, he left his body. He perfected his life and left his body in 6 years. So that is how the Shrota was very qualified. He was very eager, very inquisitive. Even though the Vakta was not effective, just by the Shrota being effective, the process of Shravanam had its effect and he went back. That is the first story. So the other case is when the Vakta is, what did we do? We did the Shrota not being potent, but the Vakta is, Shrota potent. So now here the Vakta is potent, but the Shrota is not potent. So the story is, there was once a great saint who came and he was speaking the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he was a saintly, he had a long flowing beard, like a proper saint. And he was speaking, and there was a person sitting in the front row. And as he was speaking, he noticed that this person was having tears in his eyes. And he was like, wow, this person is a real recipient. Everybody else is just listening, but he's like having tears in his eyes. So after the class was over, the speaker called this person and said, "I'm very impressed with the way you are listening. You are having, eyes, you are crying, tears. Tell me what was the best thing that you heard or liked from that lecture." And he said, "I'm sorry, but actually I was not even listening. But every time you were saying something and your beard was moving like this, it reminded me of my pet goat, which had hair like that. And and the goat actually had died just a few days ago. So I was remembering my goat and I was crying because of that." So, but because of this, he pleased the that Shrota, and he gave him blessings that you will achieve the benefit anyways, So even though the Vakta, the Shrota is not qualified, still it has effect. The process of Shravanam has effect. Hmm. The third case is when, this is the only case when the Shravanam has no effect, is when both the Shrota and the Vakta have no qualifications like we described. So the story comes like there was one person, he was a charlatan, he was a quack. He was not really a speaker, but he would pass as a speaker, like a Bhagavatam speaker. And he had created a reputation for himself that wherever he would go, people would come to listen to him. So he once went to a village, and the people, it was such a village that the people were also very smart in that village. So they thought, we will try to expose this person this time. So they all went, and this person came, and he first asked a question to all the speakers, listeners. He said, how many of you know about God? So nobody raised their hand. So he said, no, none of you know about God? I don't need to speak. You are not even interested. And he goes away. And these people say, what is going on? They said, we need to... So they are the leader of the community says, next time, let's invite him again. And next time when he asks this question, everybody raise the hand. So he comes back and he asks the question, how many of you know about God? Everybody raises the hand. So he said, since everybody knows about God, I don't need to speak. And he goes away. And these people are, we need to somehow expose this guy. We need to figure out something. So then they decide amongst themselves, and next time we'll call him again and he will ask the question, half of us will raise the hand and half of us will not. So then again he comes and he asks the same question, and how many of you know about God? So this time, as they planned, only half of the people raise the hand. He said, those of you know about God, I explained to those of you don't know, and then he goes away. So this type of Shravan obviously has no effect when both the Shrota and the Vakta are useless. But when both the Shrota and the Vakta have the qualifications, then look at what happens. We know this Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, both the epitome of listening and hearing. What happened? Not just Parikshit Maharaj was delivered, but generations to come are delivered just by that one process of Shravanam that happened in Naimisharanya. So that is the power of the scenarios. Now we'll discuss, I have 2-3 minutes. So the last thing I wanted to share is what should we hear and what should you not hear. That is also given in the scriptures. Obviously we heard that Srimad Bhagavatam. What is Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, it's a compilation based on Narad Muni inspiring Vyasadeva to compile the final word of the Vedas. But in general, Srimad Bhagavatam is listening to the Nama, Rupa, Guna and Leela of the Lord. Understand, hearing the holy names, the glories of the holy names, the beautiful descriptions of the appearance or the appearance of the Lord. Appearance means not necessarily appearance, his form. Thank you. And then his various qualities. Krishna is Ananta, he is infinite, but for our comprehension, the Acharyas have given, like in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there are 64 qualities, right? So, like that, we hear the Nama, Rupa, Guna and Leela, the pastimes of the Lord. And even more effective than the pastimes of the Lord are the pastimes of the Parikar of the Lord, the disciples of the Lord. If we hear the pastimes of how there was the exchange of pure love between the Lord and his devotees, that is even more powerful. That is what we should hear. The glories of the disciples or devotees of the Lord. Krishna himself is most pleased when we glorify his devotees. There is a story, I won't go into the story, but there is a story of a devotee he was a king by the name Chandrahas. He became a king. And this was narrated when, after the Mahabharat war, when they were instilling Yudhishthira Maharaj as the king, they send the horse, there is a pratha of sending the horse, and whoever captures the horse, they have to fight. And there was a place, I forgot the name, where the horse did not return, the horse died. And then there was an inquiry as to why did the horse die, and then they said that in that response there's a story of King Chandrahars. Maybe I'll share it next time I get a chance to speak. But that beautiful story explains, even Krishna and Arjuna, they sat down to hear the story of King Chandrahas. That explains how Krishna is himself eager to hear the glories of his own devotees. So that's what we should hear, the glories of his devotees. And what should we not hear? 4 things. Gramya Katha, like gossip. Gossip is not in the nectar of instruction. We have that instructions, like we should not listen to like gossip. And then Vaishnava Ninda, Mayavad philosophy, and prematurely trying to hear the Rasika philosophy, like the highest form of love between the Lord and his devotees. It becomes a Sahajiya mentality. It becomes like trying to mimic the understanding of the highest sweet pastimes of the Lord. So these are the 4 things we should not listen. Vaishnava Ninda, Gramya Katha, like gossip. Vaishnava Ninda, Mayavad philosophy, basically meaning the explanation that God is formless is Mayavad. That should not be heard. And then prematurely trying to hear the highest exchanges of love. That comes only in Prema Bhakti level. So those are the things I wanted to share for my own purification and benefit. Please forgive me if I spoke something out of my capacity, but I just wanted to share it as a reminder and a lesson for myself. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
I have some little question to ask you, Prabhu. Say it like this: is if a person in a mental hospital saying they hate Krishna, would the Yamadus get them?
Of course, there is a different process to evaluate. It doesn't have to be the situation of a mental hospital. But even if we once chant the holy name sincerely, it is far beyond the jurisdiction of what Yama can evaluate the devotee. So, irrespective of whatever situation, actually the whole world is a mental asylum. This, especially in Kali Yuga, everybody is so enamored, everybody is in illusion. To do what you are not in reality is illusion. So we all are trying to act like we are one particular body, one particular identity. So in that sense, everybody is in a mental asylum. And Yamaduta can definitely judge us. But if we eat Krishna Prasadam, if we chant the holy names, if we serve the devotees of the Lord, then there is no need to fear about Yamaduta. Does that help? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a very nice class. So you gave this breakdown of qualified listeners and also the benefits of hearing. So I was just curious, if we are listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam and we are not engaging in these 4, gossip, Vaishnav Ninda, Mayavad, and premature Rasika topics. So even if both the listener and speaker may not be very qualified in instances, is there benefit? Because you said of all the 3, if the listener, either one is qualified, then it's good. But there's no benefit if... So because we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam that has Srila Prabhupada's purports, and we're not engaging in all that, then is there benefit?
Yeah, so the question is, what if both have partial qualifications, right? Then what happens? Yes, of course. I mean, within our community, within our society, our qualification comes from Srila Prabhupada, from our gurus. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says that, Yara dekhe tara kahe Krishna Upadesh, right? He has requested everybody, whatever little you know, you share. So that's our qualification. We don't have any, like Prabhupada himself says, right, in the purpose, like it's like borrowed plumes. We don't have the realization. We are at the Vigyan level, we are not at the Sakshatkar level yet. Some of the truths we have heard are just at the Gyan level. It's just information to us. It's not even Vigyan, it's not even applied knowledge. But the qualification is to speak. And I'm assuming that most of us within our community of devotees, we listen to speakers within the community. So there is that qualification. And for us, we also, since we are sincerely trying to practice, we try to learn these qualifications and try to attain them. And it's not really very difficult to get the qualification of a listener. You just have to be humble. You have to be free from prejudice and with an open mind or open heart. But the answer is yes, it does have the effect. It is equivalent to, like Prabhupada would say, right, always that these are my pure devotees, or they are on the path of being pure devotees, though they are not at this time like that. So whatever this whole system of the Srimad Bhagavatam was an instruction of Srila Prabhupada for us. So that there is that itself brings, the instruction brings the power, instruction brings the blessings, instruction brings the qualification, right? So that's where the qualification is. Even though it is not at 100% purity level, whatever level of purity, to that extent the purification will happen. Whatever extent the speaker feels from his heart, to that extent it will reach the heart of the people listening, and to that extent it will have benefit. So that's why we should maximize it by trying to listen to, and that's what we all do whenever we have any senior Vaishnavas, Swamis, Maharajas coming, we all take the opportunity to hear them. They are so much more realized in their knowledge, in their sadhana also. So the answer is yes, it does have the benefit. In essence, just one, like we hear, like one such Shravanam process where the speaker is a fully realized soul and he's speaking from his heart, and we are listening from our heart. That's it. We are purified. Like Parikshit Maharaj, in 7 days he was fully purified. So in that sense, it takes that one process, that one Shravanam process. But we are doing it gradually, and that is fine. It's a gradual process, purification, but there is a definite purification for sure.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the very nice class. It was very, amazing how you can keep all of that together. And I appreciate the stories also to illustrate the points. It really helps me. And based on her question and the discussion, I was remembering Prabhupada makes this point very often that, someone might not be an expert technician, but if they perfectly follow the instructions of the expert technician, then they also become expert. And that if we just repeat what we're hearing from Prabhupada and our spiritual masters without, deviation, then we also become perfect at that.
You want this one? But yeah, Prabhu, thank you so much for adding to our understanding. Yes, like Prabhuji was mentioning, that just following the instructions, we may not be a perfect technician, but following the instructions of a perfect technician, we act at the level of a perfect technician. So thank you for that, Prabhu. It's definitely something to remember. That brings us that qualification that we need. So.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for this nice class. So, in the start, like you said, very nice things which I was like thinking. So when they say that uh, when you are in a position like here in the head position, uh, Yati refused to be in that position. And I was thinking that in our life we get several opportunities where our mind goes to choose the materialistic things. Like for example, I was thinking few months ago that I should go to New York and have a good job. But then like big good money and everything, and then choosing Krishna, like I was thinking it needs we are in ignorance if we are moving towards the materialistic things, and to choose Krishna is like lack of removing that ignorance and to have that love for Krishna to stay back. And also from this story I learned that you have to think, okay, if you go there, what you are lacking. Like if you go to materialistic thing, I'm gonna lack this association and devotees, and
Correct.
this is more important to me. So I was just reflecting on this points, and if you want to add anything which helps me not to chase materialistic things.
So, real quick, since you mentioned about the principle in general has been spiritually that you follow the instructions of your father. Lord Ram gave that example that he was asked to go away from the kingdom the day prior to his coronation, and he went. But Prabhupada actually explains, I'm just deviating a little bit, but I'll come to the point. Why did Yati refuse? And actually, Yadu also refused. Like later on in the story, King Yayati, he asks that his youth, I won't go to the story, but he asked that somebody exchange my old age. He was cursed by Shukracharya that he will become old, but he still wanted to enjoy. So he asked one of his 5 children. Yadu refused, but his youngest Puru he accepted. And Prabhupada gives a purport that because at some point under Yadu's dynasty, Lord Krishna was to appear, whatever he did was right. Even if it is externally it feels like it is going against the injunction that you should accept the instructions of your father, which Lord Ram himself is exemplifying. Yadu not accepting the instruction of his father was for a higher cause, right? Because at some point in the Yadu dynasty, Lord Krishna had to appear, and that was the ordained. So the point I'm trying to say is in your, like in any example like this, there may be overall instructions, but the final instruction should come ideally from Guru. If we don't have a Diksha Guru, from a Shiksha Guru, where we discuss the things more in details, like, the very fact that you are recognizing this itself is glorious. That I want to prioritize my spiritual progress and well-being over a delta material well-being, right? Probably you already have a job, you probably are earning certain amount. You are looking at, can I earn that extra amount of money? But that might come with a drop in my association, right? So that itself is, Krishna is very pleased with that by itself. Now, on a practical lens, that's where we have to, you have to discuss with a Shiksha Guru, somebody whom you can trust, and then discuss. Of course, by Prabhupada's mercy, wherever we go, we have the same sweetness, in today's day and age. But if there is a certain level of spiritual advancement we are already experiencing in the association of a certain group of devotees, then by all means. And if we sacrifice that, I can tell you here, sitting on the Vyasasan, that whatever you felt was a delta will automatically be. Krishna just tests. He likes to test his devotees. End of the day, nothing is above spiritual progress. Material gains will come and go, and I feel also, just to finish my answer on this, I feel that somewhere for each one of us, our ultimate guru is Paramatma in our heart, right? The Adi Guru, Shirodakshai Vishnu, in his expansion as Paramatma. If we learn to tune into the inner voice, we will start getting those intuitions, that feeling that I should go or I should not go. And that's how actually Krishna operates this material world, through those who listen to him. He inspires them in a certain direction. Those who don't listen to him, they get inspired by his illusionary energy in a different direction. So yes, in deep, I'll give you a practical solution. Don't speak for like 5-6 hours one day. Just sit by yourself. Okay, slowly remove the noise of your external things and just chant very sincerely, and then go and ask. Or like many devotees do, they will put chits in front of the deities and ask, and then pick one. So there are different ways, but I feel that the ultimate would be what comes stronger repeatedly, what passes the test of time in your heart. If time and again that's what comes, then definitely that is Krishna's indication as the direction for you. Like that.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Any other questions or thoughts?
I think that's where association matters so much. So if you have the right association, wherever you go, the devotees are like a safety net for you. So I don't know where I read this, but friends or associates, they are the ones like, who'll guide you back even if you are going away from the path. So once you have that strong foundation in that kind of association, I think you are safe to a certain extent. That's all.
Okay. Thought we'll end this. Thank you so much. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.